This is from Dawg Pound Daily. 3 Browns players whose career fell off the rails in 2022. Number 3, they go with left tackle Jed Wills. Talk a little bit more about him in a minute. Number 2, John Johnson III, free safety. And number 1, Kareem Hunt, running back, Cleveland native as well. Ashley, I think people get frustrated with Jed Wills because there's all kinds of all 22 video, and you can see there sometimes he just doesn't look like he's finishing the play. The effort's not there. I would say he's not living up to the top 10 pick that he was in the draft, but he's also kind of an average left tackle in the NFL right now. He's not horrible by any means, but he's certainly not worthy of the 10th pick that they took him at.
Yeah, and I think it, makes it worse almost when you look at a guy like Tristan Wirfs. I think that's the guy he's going to forever be linked to and compared to. And you look at his career and what he's done versus what Jed has been able to do. And also, like, the offensive line Jed plays on. Even those guys there, like, he's playing along Pro Bowl level talent all the time. And I think, we've continuously kind of seen these plays like you're describing where it looks like maybe he's not going 100% all the time. And I think with him the last 2 years, we've heard guys allude to almost like him needing to have that want to that it takes to be successful in this league. And you do start to wonder, like, okay, how much of a problem is that going to become if your left tackle is essentially the weakest link on your line? So I do think it's a question, and I do think if somebody can get through to Jed and say, hey, like, there are some things you do really well, but we need you to take it to that next level because of the competition that we're facing.
Yeah. John Johnson III is another one. When they signed him, I thought it was a great free agent signing. I'm not sure that he was used the correct way in the Browns system. I think they were asking him to do some things that, while he could do them, they weren't what he did in L.A., where he looked great with the Rams.
Yeah, that was, I think, always the biggest problem. It felt like late in 2021, he had maybe started to put the pieces together in Joe Woods' system, that his production could be equivalent to what he did in L.A. And I just think it didn't ever quite get there. I think maybe that was a system issue with how they used him, with not really adjusting. I mean, I think he's a guy who has the ability to be pretty versatile. And he found himself a lot of the time, you look at his PFF grades, I would always tend to take with a grain of salt because of the way the free safety worked in Joe Woods' defense. And a lot of times he would be around plays because he was like the last line of defense, which is part of the job, and trying to clean stuff up and failing. But I think in a Jim Schwartz defense, so much more burden is placed on the front of your defense that a guy like JJ3, maybe Jim Schwartz would say, hey, I really need this guy. I need him to stick around. Otherwise, I think it's kind of a no-brainer at this point. You need to get that contract restructured if he's going to stay, or he's going to wind up being a cap casualty if Jim Schwartz doesn't think he fits here and Kevin Stefanski doesn't think he fits here anymore, or you can't get that contract restructured. Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see. I think Denzel Ward falls into that as well. His PFF grade, it was like, yeah, but you're asking him to do things that aren't his strengths. So